Hey, Fran. I, I just realized I sent out some additional documents this morning to the commission that I normally would put on the table, but I did not send them to you.
Oh.
Let me run down real quick and resend so that you have them too.
Okay. Oh, go ahead. Never mind.
You probably can't. You're not really going to need them. It's just basically me telling them that county has said they can't do anything. I mean, it's like every bullet point is no, 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 and no.
Wow.
Yeah, all done.
Both Kelly and Josh have 9 o'clock clients,
Okay.
but if everybody's here, it'll be okay. There's
Sounds like a plan. Morning, Sarah.
Morning.
Good morning.
Hey, how's it going?
How y'all doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. How's that baby doing, Josh?
She's doing awesome.
Has it been hard with?
Yeah, she turns 2 in December, so
Aw, she's probably getting so big.
she is.
You just send me pics.
Yeah, absolutely.
I did send an email out to everyone this morning. I sent an email out to everyone this morning. Some of you probably didn't get it because you're on the road. It was documents, and I'll go through them in detail. So even if you don't have it in front of you, it's no big deal. But I sent them out. It would be normally what I would have sitting on the table for you if we were meeting in person. So it just makes it a little harder.
I just want to give you a heads up. I'm gonna have to run around like 8:40. I got a kind of an emergency patient coming in this morning that I just got a text about. So actually, I already had one and now I have another one. So it's gonna be a little complex morning, but just want to give you a heads up there.
I'm sorry, hold on. I got to get Chris over. All right. So I think all we're missing is Bob.
Can you see me?
Yes. Hi, Chris.
Hold on a second. I'm sorry, can you see me?
Yes.
All right. I'm finally in. Woo!
Yay. We still need to figure out why you're not getting the emails properly.
I know, I went through spam, went through everywhere, so sorry about that.
That's okay.
I mean, that's my
Hey.
still problem. I have Fran helps send stuff to me all the time, but a lot of times in the beginning, mine were always disappeared. They never were in my junk mail or anything. It's kind of weird.
Well, and this one isn't through that other service. This is actually the Zoom invite.
Oh,
So this
Chris,
is
do you
actually a different one.
does
I
Chris
see them on in my email.
Yeah, it looks like Chris is the only one who didn't get his. You guys are getting individual invitations directly from Zoom, which automatically put you in as a panelist, which means I don't have to go over and move people into the room essentially. And he didn't, his didn't go through.
Hey, Allison, real quick, is there any news on union loafers?
Nope. Nope.
Okay.
They haven't told us anything. I haven't seen anybody in there.
Yep. I haven't seen any movement. I was still excited.
You should still be excited. They're still talking with us. I think they're just going pretty slow. I think we're at a point where you have enough for a quorum, even though Bob isn't here yet. I don't know if you want to see if someone else wants to chair the meeting so we could at least get started since you have 6. Someone want to chair? Heidi, you're still muted.
So is Kelly.
I say let's go ahead and get started.
Heidi, do you want to go ahead and chair the meeting?
Sure.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay, so I'll call the meeting to order. What is it I say? Something before seconding it?
A motion.
Oh, a motion to, anybody want to approve the motion?
Approved.
I will.
Whoa. Okay. Sorry, I did not get any kind of order. I need somebody to propose and somebody to second. Just one each.
I propose we start the meeting. I motion to start the meeting.
All right, now you're gonna call for the minutes. Kelly, Kelly raised your hand. All right.
Okay.
So now we need a second to approve the minutes.
That was-
All right. Thank you. I couldn't do it. All right, go for it.
All right, Mara.
All right, so I sent, and some of you got it and some of you didn't. I sent an email this morning that was a copy of the email that I have now received from county, our latest and greatest set of comments. And then I also included the drawing, which one we sent to them. And I will basically tell you, and I'm going to go through the list of the bullets of what they said that we could and couldn't do, but basically they've said we can't do the project. I mean, every single bullet cuts out every single thing that we're doing. So once I received that, I talked with our public works director. He was sort of the same mindset of like, where are they coming from? They've almost started from scratch. He even included the little drawing that was the drawing that one of his guys sketched up like 2 years ago for us that gave us some direction for us to further try to define the intersection. So I went back to him and I said, look, you know, Jim, I said, I'm frustrated. The business district is frustrated. I sent him an email and I will even read to you what I said. I said, I haven't responded back. I hadn't responded immediately and he wanted to make sure I got the comments. I said, you know, you basically said that it's impossible to do anything in this area and that after our initial discussions a few years back, what the county is telling us now has changed considerably from what we first heard. I also went through and explained to him the frustrations over maintenance in the area, about how the sidewalks hadn't been updated and every time they broke, they'd throw the asphalt into it. And that how when we finally said we as a city would take it on, they tried to charge us a permit for it, which was ridiculous. And then I said to him, you know, we would really like to have a similar agreement to some of the other areas where we can maintain the sidewalks, where we can maintain the bump outs, and asked if that would change the direction of the requirements he's holding us to in case he'd forgotten that we would do a maintenance agreement. And, you know, I also pointed out that this is a primary walking route for children to the middle school and that next year there's going to be a few hundred more kids going to the middle school with the addition. And so after I sent him all of that, he did send me an email back, and he said, and I didn't send this over to you guys, but it said, "Thanks, Mara, and I understand your concerns. After meeting with your business district, I suggest you forward the concerns below," which were the ones that I'd already sent, "with any additional thoughts from the business group." He said, "There are several groups at county that provide input for our comments and requirements, and listening to your perspective may help us get to a consensus that works for all. Can't promise anything, but I think a discussion is worth the effort." So that is where I am right now. So I sent you both the lovely phase 1, as well as a series of bullet points. And I just wanted to go through these briefly to explain why, in my opinion, the way they've written it, we can't do anything that we've asked to do. So the first bullet point, he's requiring us to coordinate with MoDOT and do all the striping from the tracks all the way back to the highway overpass, because I guess that small section isn't theirs. So they striped all the way to the highway overpass, and then they stopped all the striping. Well, all the rest of the striping, in order for even us to do, which we had not integrated the new striping, they want us to coordinate with MoDOT, and that we have to complete that entire section, which is not even remotely in our cost estimates. Then he wrote, the above comment makes commenting on the lane drop. So we actually had cut the lane down so that if the 4 lanes came over, one of those lanes would turn directly into the parking lot, which made a lot of sense for safety purposes. He says, don't even bother with that, because you're gonna have to do the what they call the road diet, but the other lane changes. Then he talks about how we would have to do a pedestrian count in order to do the crosswalk west of Alma, that we would not be allowed to stripe the crosswalks across Alma, which again, for pedestrians. He said we cannot have the eastbound bulb out at Elm, that the bulb out at the northwest corner of Elm won't work with trucks, which is very bizarre because there currently is, that's already there. So I don't even know if he knows what the existing conditions are. He's saying we would require a site distance study in order to add any additional parking. And then they won't allow us to have the diagonal crosswalk that we want to do to make the span shorter. He wants it to go back to the original configuration. So basically, the only thing it says here is, okay, you can redo your sidewalks with concrete. I mean, really, there's nothing in here that allows us to do anything. I was going to go back again. I feel like I'm just going in circles on this one with them, and pull all our prior correspondence. Now, some of it was in meetings in person, and I don't necessarily have documents on that. But going back to the first meetings where they gave us this little diagram trying to get us to change the configuration, the various letters that said, yes, we support moving forward, and then try to bring that to him. I know he said that I could forward this back to him with any of your additional concerns. I think all your additional concerns are all the same as my additional concerns. I don't think we're on a different page in any way, shape, or form. I think you agree with me that every one of these bullet points are things that we need, and these are kind of unacceptable mandates that say we can't do anything.
Yeah. Mara, can you still hear me?
Yep, I can still hear you, and I see Bob is on now, and I think he's trying to get his sound working.
Okay, just a heads up, for whatever reason, my iPad video dropped, but I can still hear you on the phone.
Okay, and we can still hear you too. If you need to try to go back out and back in, I will look for you and I can move you back over.
Thanks. I'm just going to hang in here on the audio. I looked at the documents and I understand exactly what you're saying.
Okay. And Bob, Heidi went ahead and started chairing the meeting only because we were going to be losing Josh quite soon.
Sure, no problem.
Okay, and we were losing, I think, Christy quite soon too.
Kelly.
Sorry, Kelly.
But you can take over, Bob. I'm good.
So Bob, I had sent an email this morning that not everybody had received yet, but I kind of went through everything. I went through all the bullets of what county is now saying that we can't do, which is everything. And then I did go through, I sent an email back to county, you know, saying how frustrated I was that, you know, it's a complete opposite of a couple years back when they were encouraging us to go ahead and apply for funding and for the streetscape. And he said that, you know, he understands our concerns and he's willing to bring it back to the group again. So I told him I was meeting with you all this morning. He said I could bring back information from your group, which I think is exactly the same as my concerns, and then try to bring it back to them again to discuss what our options are.
Well, it's the notes in the one email that you're calling notes from county. That's the comments, right?
That's the comments
And you're just attaching the drawing.
that I sent to him.
Yeah, understood.
Yeah. And basically, you know, he's asking us to do 3 big things that we don't have in the budget, which is completely do the striping and coordinate with MoDOT from the train tracks all the way back to the overpass.
Right.
He's asking us to do pedestrian counts. He's asking us to do a site distance study. And then he's telling us we can't have the bump outs, we can't have the crosswalks, and a lot of our on-street parking can't be done because we can't modify the parking. So it's pretty much, you could do sidewalks, and that's, to me, unacceptable. And just note, when I've been working with county initially, I would send things to this particular person. He's the head of all the project managers. I used to start sending him things because I used to work with him when I was at Chesterfield, and he was one of the key people. He was good to work with, and he was one of the key people to work with. And so when I would send things to him, usually I'd get my comments back. When I first started working at Webster, I didn't know who my person was. You get assigned a person. So I started working with him, and he would usually send it on. Well, as we got further along, and I've been here for, you know, almost 9 years now, he told me I had an area engineer. So we used to work with a particular area engineer. She's the one who did the first comments on the very first application that we did and sent the letter. She then was moved up to a different position. We were given a different area engineer. That area engineer, when I sent this latest set of comments, I sent it directly to the area engineers. And then I didn't hear anything for a couple weeks. And then Jim got back with me and said, I know it's very confusing, but you have to send things to me because I'm over conceptual drawings and they have to come to me and they can't review them. So it seems like there's a little bit of a disconnect. And then whenever we've met with them in person, they've had both Jim, who's over all the project managers, as well as our area engineers have been there, as well as some additional staff. Bob, I think you remember, I think they had like 5 or 6 people in the room the last
Right.
time we met. And then there was another time we met about a completely different district project. You guys weren't there because we weren't planning to talk about our project. But at the end of the meeting, we asked to talk about the project. And one of their engineers, who is not assigned to us, who I think either lives in Webster, lives in Kirkwood, he lives nearby, because he actually, this is his route to and from work. And, you know, he described and understood the area, but then was talking about putting in a roundabout and, you know, having a full traffic study and having a bunch of other things that I think we believe and our public works director believe are not necessary.
So where do we go from here essentially? I mean, are we gonna revisit all our concerns and that'll maybe change their mind, or, I mean.
I'm going to try and revisit our concerns because, again, I don't see how 3 years ago they can say yes, we encourage you to do this, 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 and this. And then 3 years later, everything is off the table and we can't do any of those. That just does not make sense.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's just, I just don't think it's appropriate to say you can't do anything, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, we have to look at this and figure out what we can do and move forward and get it to move forward in such a time frame that we don't have to keep restarting this and then getting a different group of people that shoot it down every time.
Yeah. And it did take, I mean, I sent it to him, I think 2 days or the day after we had our meeting. And then it was almost 3 to 4 weeks before I heard back that it was like to the wrong person. And then I did get his thing, and I was waiting for our public works director to be back in the office from out of town. So when he wrote back to me saying, I want to make sure you got it, it had been a couple weeks. I hadn't responded back to him because I was waiting for people to review what he'd sent to me. So I'd like to basically, as soon as we're done here, go back, pull together all the previous correspondence I have with their letters encouraging us to move forward. And then any emails that I can find from the various engineers saying, sure, we'll sign off on your applications. And then try to provide all that back to him and see if there's any way we can set up a Zoom meeting. That's what I'd like.
And we'll be able to go to that meeting with you?
Yes. I'd like to do that because I think they need to hear your voices. And then I also need to see if the public works director, if we can have some conversations. I mean, we've talked before, the city can't take on all of Big Bend. We can't take it from them. Some cities try to do that. But if we did that, it's enormous. It would go from Barry to Laclede Station Road. And we just don't have the capacity to be able to maintain all of that. But we've talked to them before about doing all the sidewalk maintenance, all of the bulb out, curb maintenance, all of that. And that is something we are willing to take on as we have in Old Orchard. And I want to make sure that that's very clear to them. I understand they're saying that a lot of these are for safety purposes, but I have to respectfully disagree with them.
Right. Especially with the increase in student traffic coming from Hickson Junior High, walking around the area here and trying to cross Big Bend and trying to cross Elm. So
agree.
But there's no way, I mean, even in their bullet comment of doing a pedestrian count for Alma Crosswalk, you can't even do that until school is back in session.
Exactly. And then that just pushes things off.
Right, which is ridiculous. We know that there is a considerable amount of kids that walk through this district, and we know that it's going to increase, the students are going to increase in number by 200, with at least a portion of that is going to walk through the district. So
I can also go back and look through, I feel like we have some old counts.
I thought so too, but I'm not sure.
Let me look and see if I can find the PED counts, because I feel like we did that as one of our early, just to get some of the initial money before we applied for the streetscape.
Mm-hmm.
Let me go see what I have.
So Mara, these comments, maybe you said this earlier, but the comments that we have, it's all in response to what we call this option one. Is that correct?
That's correct, because the last time we met, we talked about the fact that they had shot us down on our option 3, which was the option that we really liked. That was the option that made the changes at the Baker intersection. That was the one that kind of slowed traffic down. That had everything. And when they said that they didn't like that intersection and they wanted a whole study, traffic study and other things, and they weren't happy with that, we were like, well, we don't have the money for that right now anyway. Let's just go forward with what we already have in the budget from the city council. Let's see if we can get some cost estimates for just doing the bulb outs or the bump outs and the sidewalks. And so that's why we sent them option 1, which we thought was the most pared down basic project that we could at least get crosswalks, bump outs, and sidewalks out of. Still wouldn't do the street lights, still wouldn't do a few of the other things, but at least it would get that, and we could get our maintenance agreement. So that was the direction we'd last gone in last meeting. And then that's when I got all these comments. Here are our initial comments below.
Right. So, so they really haven't considered what we talked about at the last meeting, where it was, you know, even pared down to a skeletal project, just bump outs and sidewalks. They haven't.
No, that's what these comments are.
Oh, okay, but
notes?
I'm still looking. I mean, I guess the visual I'm seeing is still the Gore Baker intersection, Big Bend intersection.
No, he provided that to us.
Okay.
He provided that in the email saying, hey, you should consider this.
Oh.
And I'm like, wait a minute, this is the drawing that you guys gave us 3 years ago that one of your guys just sketched up without actually engineering it, saying, yeah, let's try this. And that's actually was the jumping point where all of us were like, wow, we hadn't thought about continuing to integrate this. And we actually then had Cochran draw up some potentials, knowing that the thing that this guy had sketched up wouldn't make sense because it actually made it that two people couldn't drive into their driveways of their house.
Yeah.
And we were like, yeah, it's great that you sketched this up, but you don't know our area and you didn't take the time to know our area. Whereas our engineer looked at what the impacts were and tried to make it that people could still, you know, access their properties.
So is it fair to summarize to say they're interested in something at Gore Baker and Big Bend, nothing close to Elm at Big Bend? They want nothing, no work done there. They're not willing to change parking. They're not allowing bump outs, but it seems like based on your most recent comment there, that's their focus. And of course, that'll take us west over the railroad tracks all the way up to the highway overpass. That's their concentration, right?
Yeah, that's their concentration. That if we want to do any of the other things, which they've now said none of those can be done anyway,
right?
You'll have to do all these other things, yeah, that aren't even in your district. So what I propose is that, you know, as soon as we get off this meeting, I pull together whatever I can pull together, send it all back over to Jim, ask him to gather together whoever he needs from his side of things and see if we can schedule a Zoom meeting with you know, you all as members of the district. We would probably have to post notification if a quorum of you are all meeting with them versus 1 or 2 members, but that's not a problem. We could do that. The city could set up the Zoom meeting. We could also have because sometimes we need it up, a visual up on the screen. We could create a PowerPoint that we could share on the screen with the 3 different scenarios so that we could put those up as we are talking. So, I mean, that's the option or the direction I really think in order for us to move forward in a manner that doesn't take us another, you know, year, I think might be the best way to go.
Mara, if we show them a design that, you know, with these various options, if we have anything in our design about the Gore Baker Big Bend intersection, I feel like it's going to get bogged down to where we can't even get to the point of discussing what we really want. And that they obviously have something in mind. Let me ask the rest of the group, does anybody want to hang around to do this Big Bend improvement all the way to the overpass? I mean, we're talking years and big dollars and MoDOT. And I remember meeting when Christensen met with us, he said, you do not want to get the railroad involved. It just becomes an enormous project. It's like, I think we should completely abandon Gore Baker Big Bend intersection to where we tell them we're not interested in that intersection. We can't do it. So
I agree. Just scale down the project, and if that keeps coming up, that can be a whole separate project that's discussed later while this one moves ahead.
Yeah, almost like we reverse it to them and say, hey, that's our step 2, but we're never going to do it.
Right.
Not in our lifetimes.
I agree.
So
agree.
Mara, so what do you think about saying, hey, these are not the options that are being discussed anymore. We've just pared it down. I think they'll try to pull us back in on it, and we just have to say, hey, look, if this is the project we're interested in doing, and if they want to put the crosswalk at Elm in the middle of Elm, it's their problem. Let them do it. I mean, we were kind of fighting them on that one crosswalk, but let's not fight them. I mean, they're the engineers, they're the experts. Let them win on that.
So I would agree with, that's actually when I sent it to him, which is why I got the comments back. I said that to him. I said, we've had to pare this down. We're trying to do the basics. We're trying to use what little funding we have in our CIP.
Yeah.
And so I would agree. I mean, I think we can really say to them, look, we can't do any of this. We can't do any of this down here. If we can't do any of this, what are our options and what can we do? And if we pull the ped count out and some of the other things and even go back to the very basics of here's where we started from. I mean, really, this is where we started from.
Mhm.
We were never
You bet.
discussing the Baker intersection.
Right.
County brought it up and said, oh, wouldn't that be great? And we were like, well, technically it's our streets. I mean, those two are our streets. Where they connect to Big Bend, yes, is county, but those are our streets. So if we don't want to make those changes, we really don't have to. If we're not touching that intersection, we don't have to worry about them. So I think you're all on the same page.
We really got talked into expanding the project. Looking back, obviously it's hindsight's 2020, but it kept evolving, and sure, it looked great and you can draw anything, but it was, little did we know at that time, and we've learned it, is that it's just gotten too big for us, and we've got to keep it simple. And if we do the Zoom meeting, I mean, everyone has to echo that, and that's our only chance at getting them to hear us. If there's any discussion about that intersection, Big Bend Gore and Baker, or Big Bend at Elm, I think we're cooked. We're in the wrong direction with them.
It'll just keep getting bogged down.
Yeah, exactly. It'll never progress.
Right.
Yeah, I would agree. Okay, let me pull all that together. And then what I will probably do, your next meeting, does someone have on the bottom of the agenda your next meeting date? Sorry, I'm looking at schedule. Sorry, I thought I had the agenda printed out, and I have last month's agenda printed out. Hold on.
19th of November.
Okay. So one possibility, even though I'd like to get it before the 19th, one possibility is that if we already have a meeting scheduled, that could be one of the date options I could give them, is meeting on the 19th at 8 a.m. on our regular Crossroads date. I will also then give some additional dates and times, and I'd probably need a few of those from all of you, of times like, would you prefer us to try to do an 8 a.m.? Would you like us to try to find something else? It looks like everybody's kind of saying 8 a.m. So what I would probably need to do is talk with them about other 8 a.m. times, and then look through what our options might be. I will tell you that typically Tuesdays and Thursdays are all of our different tax district meetings and other things like that. It would likely have to be, if we were going to do something before the 19th, it would likely have to be maybe a Wednesday. Are Wednesdays good for anyone? Everyone?
Works for me.
Yeah.
As long as we know about it ahead of time, it'll be okay.
Oh, I see Kelly doing a no. Christy, are Wednesdays?
I'm good.
Okay. So
Yeah,
Kelly,
I have a large class, so.
got it. It might be that because most people can do it. I mean, again, I'm going to try and maybe see if we can get it on your regular meeting date.
Okay.
Then that way I don't have to reschedule and figure out everybody and make sure everybody's available. If I can say to them, look, you know, can we meet on this day? I already have a Zoom meeting scheduled. I have already everybody invited. Can you join us for that meeting? That might be the best way to get.
Mara, if we can get a meeting with St. Louis County Traffic Highways on our next meeting date, I think we need to prepare for that meeting, and we need to have person A talking about this aspect of what, you know, about safety, this person talking about aesthetics, this person talking about, we need to be prepared for that meeting so that it's not just 7 people jumping on this guy or these people, whoever in the meeting, and we look like a bunch of fools. I think if we spent one meeting between now and November 19th, getting ready for that it's a presentation that we have to make. And if we have, you know, whatever, pictures or drawings, someone's presenting that's my 2 cents on it.
Sure. And definitely what I could do is pull together a PowerPoint and then send that out and put some of the key bullet points, and we could figure out, you know, who wants to speak to different elements of it. I think that would work out well.
How's that sound to people?
I think we have lots of noddings of yeses.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I just thrown it out there. I'm available at 8 o'clock on Mondays. If that's an option, I can do that. If yeah, I just can't do Wednesdays or Fridays.
Mondays are also usually open. Tuesdays and Thursdays are the bad ones. So if they can't do the 19th, I will throw out a couple Mondays as possibilities. And then, but I'm guessing we're a month ahead. I'm guessing that we should be able to say, hey, November 19th, it's a month away at 8 a.m. We already have a scheduled meeting. Can you join us for that? I'm guessing very likely we could have that happen. Now, Bob, would you want to schedule, even if it's a small group and not the entire group, would you want to schedule something? Let's say, I'm just throwing a date out there, like Monday the 26th.
I think if everybody has
sorry.
Yeah.
I gotta cut out. Sorry, guys.
Bye.
Keep me posted.
Okay. If we could get a date on the calendar, then yeah, let's do it now if everybody's willing to do that.
I'm just going to throw out the 26th. That would give me some time to put some slides together and a PowerPoint.
I'm good with the 26th.
I think I'll be okay.
What time are we talking? Tomorrow, 8 or what?
I could do 8.
Okay.
Yeah, I can do it. I have a meeting at 9, but I can do 8. We do it on the phone.
Okay. And again, we don't need everybody. It would just more be like getting some feedback and making sure that we have pulled together what we would like to present to them. I still have to do a notification that you all are meeting and put it on the calendar. I also need to make sure no one already has the Zoom. So I'll confirm that and check on that. But if that would work for you all, that would give me a little bit of time to pull some slides together. Okay.
Chris and Chrissy, how are that looking for you?
It works fine. I'll be there.
Oh, okay, thanks. Sarah? Okay. All right.
A thumbs up. Okay.
Everybody think about what they want to talk about.
And if anyone wants to send me any other points, I think I know what you want in the PowerPoint, but if anyone else wants to send me any other points, I was going to start and pull together some slides that say, hey, here's the first drawing that we sent to you guys 3 years ago. Here's, you know, here's the dates of the applications we applied. Here's what East West Gateway said to us that we were missing. Here's when we met with East West Gateway. Just some of those key things of saying, look, we really want to go back to the basics. This is ridiculous. This is years in the making. And now here's the new impact. And here's the number of students that are going to be added to the population that are going to be walking through this district, and kind of put those together as a few key slides.
Yeah, I think in our narratives that we wrote for that East-West Gateway grant, you could, well, I mean, you already know how we feel, but, I think you could just pick up narrative right off that, off all of our narrative, all of our write-ups and bring that into your PowerPoint.
Definitely.
Well, that's what we got to do. We got to convince them.
I'll get that taken care of. And then I think the only other thing on the agenda is maybe a city update. Do you want me to go ahead and give you a quick update before you lose everybody?
Sure.
So we have a number of things that are going before both the Plan Commission and the City Council. Next Tuesday's City Council meeting, we have a hearing open for updating the parking codes. And that went through a number of months with Plan Commission. And then due to the Zoom factor, we're going through it with the City Council in a kind of extended manner by going through a couple meetings at a time. We also have a code amendment that's at the council on Tuesday for political signs in order to ensure that political signs are allowed on election day at polling places. Currently, our sign code actually doesn't allow them to be there. So we're gonna try to ask for 3 readings to get that done before the election. Pacific Place in Old Orchard, that's the assisted living that's right behind Gorilla Street Food. That owner had come to us with a minor little change that he needed, and we went through the history, and he actually had history on that project that went back to 1958, and there were like 5 ordinances and variances and all kinds of crazy stuff. And we talked with him about rezoning to a planned commercial district so that he could have all the mixed uses and try to clean up all of his ordinances to make it easier in the future to do some minor development. So he is going to be before the City Council on Tuesday night also. So I've got all those hearings before council. The Plan Commission is working on some residential code changes related to both affordable housing, large houses that sort of loom over others, and looking at some other changes to the code related to the possibility of 2-family and attached structures. Currently, our zoning code in the A4 district allows for 2-family structures, but only if 40% of the houses on both sides of that street are 2-family, which essentially means that there's like 3 blocks in the city of Webster Groves that can have 2-family structures, which is pretty ridiculous, but it makes sense for 1950s. And so we're opening that up, and we're continuing hearings with the Plan Commission, and it'll eventually go to City Council. So we're working on those. There is a final reading before the City Council for the 2nd building in Old Webster next to Regions Bank. The Regions Bank was built. There's supposed to be a 2nd building that was going to be a retail office building. They want to put in up to 1,000 square foot coffee shop in the front part of the building and office in the back. And that wasn't a use that we had originally listed as an allowed use. Because a lot of coffee shops want drive-through, and that's supposed to be more of a walkable district. We have 2 new businesses opening very soon in Old Orchard. One is Union Studio. They are a business that's in the city of St. Louis. They have they sell items that are done by local artists. So it includes clothing, jewelry, home goods. Look them up, they're really cool. It's Union Studio STL, and they're opening their 2nd location. They should be open, I think, either this week or next week. They're in the old Kruger Pottery Studio location. We are also getting a place called Dharma and Dwell. They refill, they're eco-friendly. They refill bottles of hair products, lotions, and other things like that. And they should be open hopefully by the end of the month, maybe the beginning of next month, also in one of those locations where Kruger Pottery used to be. The annex of Frisco Bar Room is almost open. They're kind of open. You could still go in and get some things, but they're not officially open yet. They're kind of doing a soft opening, and then they should be officially opening in the next couple of weeks. We also have some interest in a few other buildings. I have a few more projects that I can't announce yet, but I've got 2 or 3 other kind of big things coming, in addition to making sure that you all know, if you have not been on our website lately, there is a new updated link for the redevelopment project for Old Webster, the North redevelopment. Please make sure to go on. They are almost to the point where they will be putting out a schedule of how they would need to be going for their rezoning before the Plan Commission, which that'll be a pretty big series of meetings. And right now we're doing them via Zoom, we're trying to work out the best way to get public comment in, to get feedback, and still be able to, kind of proceed how we usually proceed for planning items. A couple people have asked me about whether Lumacharon is still going to open at some point. Yes, they are. They got some additional funding, but they were kind of held off due to COVID. Same thing with Union Loafers and their bagel place. I think actually COVID helped them get some funding in order to do the project, but they're still kind of kicking around some ideas of how they're going to do the build out. And then I feel like there's a couple more small ones that I'm not remembering. We're extremely busy. We have not slowed down. I think our numbers are, I think we have 17 new houses that have been approved during 2020. So the numbers are kicking around to potentially still hit the same number of new houses as previous years. And our overall projects just coming in, just keep coming. We're doing ARB via Zoom, and we've again kind of kicked around. We usually have anywhere from 10 to 15 projects on ARB every meeting, and they meet twice a month. So you probably have somewhere between 15 and 30 projects every month going to Architecture Review Board. So things are just continuing to move. I don't think I have anything else unless anyone has questions. Hickson Middle School is moving along. You probably have driven by and seen. It's really, I think they kicked a lot into gear, knowing that the students were going to be out for a few months. Same thing with, I don't know if you all know, but there was, with some proposition money from the school district, we have projects at most of the elementary schools. They were doing it in 2 phases, but it's mainly for safety purposes for the ones that didn't have like a door that could be closed off for visitors, for checking in, as well as for ADA accessibility. A number of them are getting elevators or lifts to help with accessibility in the schools. So we've been working with them on all those projects. And I think that's it.
Maura, do you have any signs anywhere that says no skateboarding or anything like that? We had the skateboarder and his father joined in yesterday.
Oh.
And for 2 hours, they parked in my private parking space and skateboarded around the entire parking lot. Somebody's going to get hit. So I called the non-emergency number and I explained it to them. And I flat out said, for me to go out as a business owner and tell them all this, that could create some animosity that I'm not interested in. So, if you send somebody over, they never sent anybody over, and he ended up leaving 2 hours later, but he's kind of doing it on a regular basis.
Do you know about the time frame so that I could send someone?
Yeah, he left at, let's see. Yes, I do. He got there at like 4 o'clock and they left at 6:20.
Okay, so kind of an after school?
It is an after school kind of thing. And I understand what they're doing, but that is a dangerous situation. And the fact that 3 of my clients, one of who is actually hurt, could not use the private parking space literally 8 feet from my door was kind of concerning. So.
Okay. Let me check on it. I know that we've been having some things happening because when the tennis courts were being done, the skate park has been locked off.
Okay.
And so I'm wondering if it's happening because of the whole time when the tennis courts were being constructed. I think that I thought that they were supposed to be fixing the gates and everything and cleaning up so that the skate park would be open again. But let me check on that, and then let me also talk with our police officer.
Okay, I don't know if it's happening every day because I'm not there at that time every day, but I'll ask another one of my instructors. But I mean, I get it, but I don't want to create any animosity because we don't,
What we can do is, it's not our regular officer who's your community officer who would come and sit in our meetings. I think he's off at 3, so it would need to be someone else, but I can talk with one of the sergeants and just say, hey, can you just drive by and see what's going on? Because really, that's just not safe in a parking lot, and not a city parking lot.
No, not particularly not that one where we've already had a pedestrian hit. So, okay, all right, thank you.
Yep. Chris, did you need something? I thought I saw you. Oh, wait, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I just wanted to ask really quick, is there a lot of negative feedback on the SG Collaborative? I only asked that because I saw the ad in the New Webster Kirkwood Times to try to stop it.
Oh, I think we're hearing both. I know there's been a lot of emails, the people who are negative, which is typical of any kind of project, are making sure to put it in writing and get it to the council. I think I'm hearing some positive feedback, but those aren't the people that take the effort to write. So it's typical. You normally see that. I know that there has been an effort with some adjacent property owners with concerns, which is valid, to help understand traffic impacts, ingress, egress, access, density, all of those things are important. And right now it was still more in the gathering stage of getting data and information. So once we get to the public hearings before Plan Commission, we're going to be looking at needing an access study, a parking study, a traffic study. There's a lot of information that's going to go into that. And hopefully that'll answer some of the questions and concerns by those that are concerned.
Perfect. I just didn't know if someone wanted to show support for it, where is the best place to do that to help the committee or you or whomever?
So basically, if you want to send an email of support, the easiest way is there's an email address that says it's called City Council. I think it's on our website that's like citycouncil@webstergroves.org. That goes to our city clerk, and then she puts it in the packet to all the council members. But you can also, anyone can send anything to me. I can pass those on. I usually tell people, look, it's not like we're huge. I can add it to Katie's packet. So send it to me if that's easiest. And I am technically the point of contact, because typically when projects like this go through a city, the planning director is your point of contact for documents like that. So either option is totally valid.
I would also add, Laura, if it's okay,
Yes.
that public comment is also a good way to show support, and we've certainly had negative comments there for the last few meetings. So either we're doing them now in person, well, not in person, but you can do them live on Zoom now. You can actually make a comment in a council meeting, or you can just email them ahead of time. But you have to basically say, this is for public comment.
Yeah. And we do have, Chris, on the website, the public comment option. So it's like you can send an email, you can send a letter. If you send one of those, they will read it into the record for 3 minutes. So if it's 5 pages long, they'll stop reading after 3 minutes. And then we did start that hands up, where just like you did to try to get me to move you over, they'll put the hands up option and you can get your 3 minutes at public comment at the council. The same thing is what's going to work for our Plan Commission. When it eventually gets to Plan Commission for a hearing, we're going to follow those same protocols.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
I know we're hitting on 9 o'clock, and I think we're going to lose Kelly. if no one has anything else, oh, Allison, you're on mute.
How about now?
Yep,
How
gotcha.
about now? I was just going to say, I was offering to call the meeting to adjourn.
Thank you.
Unmuted for that.
All those in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Everybody.
Nice seeing y'all.